listen, and it's so different because David, you have a son, and then you have also you have daughters, and it's a different approach to, I believe, to both sex, both male and female. But for my son, I try to tell him like let's have a conversation. Like I tell him like there is nothing too hard to tell me. I try to keep that gateway about everything, about peer pressure, about sports, about sex, and I tell her, and I know I was told to me like Marlon's just a child, and I shouldn't be talking to him like he's an adult. But this day and age, and this generation, they understand so quick, and everything is at their fingertips to the point where you don't have to talk to them about that. By the time you talk to them about that, they already
You
seen
already
it
know.
via social media, and even in schools, the women are the younger girls are dressing so grown nowadays, and it's going on in school. So when it comes down to that topic, I try to have a conversation with him as real as he gonna hear it out there in the streets. And he always used to think that I'm so hard on him. And I say, listen, I am hard on you, but the streets in the world will be much harder. So if I can come to him straight and also dealing it from a biblical standpoint, and from a point where he can see the benefit of doing it right. And also, but I blame myself for things because the biggest way I can show him is through how I live and how I handle this situation. If I've handled it wrong, but because like you say, my own battles and those things those conversations that you don't want to have with people because it's your own thing you're dealing with, and especially coming from where I came from, and it's not hard. Trust me, it's not really hard. I won't sit here and say it's hard to keep yourself or do anything like that because it's really not, especially when you're trusting in God. You have to totally be surrendered to the will of God. And me as a man, I try to, I messed up in times where I try to take things into my hand, and I always I said this, my biggest mistake is courting. I courted wrong. I dated wrong, and I didn't, and the thing is, I dated with a desire to go forward, but and still I did it wrong because once you get to know someone, you begin to gain an interest in that person. Feelings do come, and you have to be able to not create that space of opportunity to allow yourself to fall into temptation, and also be strong enough to to not give into the will of sex because it's going to be there. We are men and women, and we are young, and it's going to be there. Not to give an excuse, but I feel by dating wrong. I can't put myself in those situations, and and that's my biggest thing, that he can look at me and say, I've seen your mistakes, and I have to also kind of walk that fine line because I'm not the type of person that say, "Yo, do as I say, don't do as I do." I have to be both the voice, and I have to be the voice, and I have to be the actual eye test that you see in doing the right thing. That's it.
David?
um, so for me, it's kind of a little bit like what Arbonne said. For me, it's about honesty and it's about being transparent. And y'all know me. Y'all know I don't have a problem being transparent. I don't have a problem, talking about my past, what I've been through. And so it's the same thing when it comes to my kids. I've had conversations with them about it, and I kept it real with them, and I told them the things that I wish I would have been told about it. I'm not saying it's always easy. Yeah, sometimes it gets a little uncomfortable because it's like you don't know if they're ready for that or not. But then, like Jamel was saying, you can't take for granted what they don't already know. Like we live in such a totally different world where like everything is just so available. It's like, who would you rather they get this knowledge from? Would you rather they get it from you or from the church, or would you rather they get it from somebody in the world that don't have their best interests in mind, you know what I mean? Which is another reason why this topic shouldn't be tiptoed around in the church. The church is the best place to have this kind of conversation, you know, but like you said, you just have to go a little bit deeper, you know. So when I've talked to, you know, like my oldest two about it, I've told them, you know, yes, I didn't wait until I was married, and I wish I would have waited, and I'll give them the reasons why. And I talk to them about what soul ties are, and, you know, what it's like being married and stuff like that. Like, it's so much more than just the physical act. It's more than just saying, oh, don't have sex before marriage because it's a sin. Like, it's a lot deeper than that, and there are reasons for that. And so I jump into those conversations, and I've given those detailed explanations as to why. And like I said, maybe everybody don't have that knowledge why. Maybe a lot of people was just told that, and so they just stuck with it. But it definitely does go deeper than just that. You know, that's just the surface. So for me, like I said, it was just being honest, being transparent, having those moments with them, talking to them about that, and explaining to them, you know, the importance of why you should wait until you're married, because it's so much deeper than just it's a sin. Like, it's way deeper than that.
But I think it is a huge difference between purity and virginity, because virginity, by the world standards, we know what that is. We're gonna keep it PG-13. There's no level of penetration, but you can be doing a whole bunch of other stuff and not, you know, do what the scientific definition is. Purity is a mind that is consecrated to God. Like, the Bible say, be holy for I am holy. When you are purified, you are consecrated to God in your thoughts, in your mind, in your actions, regardless of what you're doing on the outside. Because you could be a virgin all day long and you could be watching stuff at night. You ain't got to be at night. In the daytime, you could be having certain types of conversations. It's a vast difference. And I think it's important to show and display and to communicate to our kids to be pure in action, word, and deed before they get married.
I just wanted to add in, that's kind of why we have so many failed marriages, probably within the church, because we just have young people that get married, or the girls already got pregnant, so now you got married because you don't want to, have to deal with the guilt and shame and all of that type of stuff. But yeah, pretty much. Is there a difference between purity and virginity? Anybody else?
I mean, I was going to kind of say the same thing, really. Because when it comes to purity, it starts in the mind anyway. So you don't just say, all right, I'm just going to do whatever I'm going to go do. Like, it's a thoughts, and then eventually becomes an action. And just like Lindsay said, like, being a virgin does not make you pure. You can be thinking the dirtiest things, talking about the nastiest stuff. Like, that ain't pure. So I don't care what virgin you are. Like, it's a mind thing first. And then, that's when you have to decide to, all right, I'm not going to take this action or that action or whatever. Yeah. Like, people are so quick to have marriage seminars and all this other stuff. Why can't we have these type of talks, take out this time to say, okay, this is what you do, which you don't do. Somebody should be able to come to you and say, you know what, I'm struggling with these feelings and I don't know what to do about it. What did somebody do about that? Because 9 times out of 10, if they're struggling in their mind, they're just going to act on it because, like has been said earlier, just don't do it is what's always said. Nobody really gives anything further than that. So I think like having some type of group, even things that are age appropriate, because, well, kids are a little fast these days, so I don't know. But sometimes the younger need different attention than the older ones, because it's not just people our age. I know some people up in senior citizen age burning, just pressed to be married just because they're burning. I'm just, listen, we're here to just be cut and dry, so that's what it is. But it's true, and it's just like people need that help. So where are you supposed to turn to? Everything should be on the pastor's shoulder. Somebody should be like that leader of maybe a pretty class, or like how we used to have Precious Jewels or whatever. I mean, it's important because if they don't learn it here, they're going to figure out the fastest way to learn it out there. And it's usually the longest way anyway. So I feel like that's a place to start.
think it's important to live the life before them as well. Like it's important for representation is important, and it's so crazy because I feel like I just had the same conversation on another Bible study, and I feel repetitive, but it wasn't with you guys. But representation matters. Like we say that in the world, but representation matters everywhere we go. Like that's why I think it's so important to see Black engineers. Like we have Black engineers up here. I think it's important to see Black musicians. I think it's important to see people of our culture and our race. It's a mind thing sometimes. And I think it's important to see it. That's why when we see somebody Black or something, I don't even think a whole bunch of people really knew Camilla Harris, knew what she was doing, but because she was Black, and please don't get me wrong, I ain't trying to go political on nobody, but it evoked a certain type of encouragement in people. Like, it's like, man, if she can do it, quite possibly then I can do it. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's representation matters. So I think it's critical for us to live the life before them. Like if we telling them you can do it, and everybody in front of them falling, I'm sure they feeling a little bit in their flesh like, well, they telling me everybody can do it, but is it really possible? Is it really, you know what I mean? For one, we must live the life before them because representation matters, regardless whether we believe it or not. And people are watching. Wherever we go on the job, you go to that same grocery store, y'all may never see this person paying attention to y'all. So I think we have to show them, but I also think we have to take out the time for them. You ever pay attention to after church? People will be gone just like this. But if you ever stick around for a little while, sometimes service gets started back up again, and you can see that there's something or someone for you to minister to. We get so focused on the things in our house. We get so focused on the things that's going on with our children, but we have to take out the time to pour into them. Take out the time to let them know that they're important. Like we have to, like Albany said, we have to communicate, but we have to, some of the stuff that my kids bring me, I'd be like, I think y'all seen the meme was like, only 3-year-olds call your name 20 times to jump a millimeter off the ground. Like, but you have to have those positive affirmations like, oh my gosh, baby, that was so amazing. You have to reaffirm them. So I believe that we have to reaffirm our youth that we do care about them.
I know one thing, I'm sorry, Minister Watts used to say, he said, well, I don't do this. I can't even quote it, but I know what I'm trying to say. Doing this doesn't make me saved, but I do this because I am saved, basically. And you want them to get to, is that not what you said, David? Because you're looking at me like, oh, you just said, okay, wonderful. Okay, yeah. So I think he used to quote something like that in regards to a specific thing, but you want them to get to the point that they're doing these things because they know that because they're saved, that's why they're making that choice. Not necessarily because that's what they were told. Or not just they, but we and everybody, not just subject to young people. But the foundation is where it starts. But not everybody has that foundation. Going back to our other questions prior, whether it be intercourse or struggles as a young person in church, and you're told, well, just don't do it because the Bible says so. And yes, the Bible is right all by itself, but sometimes people lean a little bit more than that because they know that the Bible says that. But tell them how to abstain from this and tell them how to walk with Christ. Because you can have the Holy Ghost at a young age, but when you start to struggle, if you're not rooted, if your anchor doesn't grip the solid rock, if your anchor's not down there, like Lindsay said, then as soon as that storm comes, you're not going to be able to sustain yourself. So I think allowing them to grow, having those conversations and transparency, like Ricky said, and just taking time with them and letting them know, okay, well, this is not how we do it. This is how we do it. Those things all go together as one. The mindset is really the bulk of it, because I think one thing that I've heard people say is when the devil got your mind, he has you. And you don't want them to get in positions where, and old people used to say this, older people used to say this all the time, when hanging out with people that are unsaved, they would be like, if you don't draw them, they're going to draw you. And it's really important to focus on who you're hanging out with, because eventually, if you're not drawing them people, they are going to draw you. I could definitely.
No, because she was speaking about words of affirmations. Those are different forms of love languages. So different people, react to different love languages. So, some people for that, they're, words of affirmation. They like when when you encourage them, and, there are different ones. So that's what that really was about.
That's good, Ricky, because sometimes, words of affirmation is one of my love languages. So a lot of times we try to love people how we receive love, and a lot of times they don't receive it that way. That's why, like Ricky said, it's so important. A lot of times, a lot of people don't want to be educated on things that's not written by the apostolic people, but some things are really good pieces of information. And Gary Chapman on the 5 love languages is so important again, because if you receive love like acts of service and I keep buying you gifts, you're thinking that you don't love me because you're not listening to me. So just like Ricky said, it's so important that we know them that labor among us and know people's love language. And even in our youth, it's important for us to know certain things about certain people, because some people you might be thinking they got an attitude. Truth of the matter is, you don't know what that baby going through or what that baby needs. So it's important for us to show love how they receive love. A lot of time we missing the mark, and that's how we lose a lot of people in the church, is because we loving people how we think they should be loved and not how they need to be loved.
I mean, the
Yeah,
truth of the
that-
matter is, I mean, well, never mind. Well, I was gonna say, are we really loving how we should love? Period. Then we can go to the 5 love languages, because I've done that myself. But just from the root of it, do we really even love like we should? Because if we did, then we could get to that step, if that makes sense.
Well, I have a comment just to add. So the thing with that is understanding. So it's as Lindsay say, different people react to being loved a certain way. It's almost like, and then sometimes, and then a lot of people don't really realize this, when relationships fail, and then you probably feel like, okay, you was doing all this thing, you was doing 100, but you wasn't getting. It's like people have different love languages, okay? And then like somebody probably like to get gifts, and you probably feel like, okay, you can just give them the money and let them go get whatever they want. Sometimes like the person will accept it more if you take the time, pick something out, and bring it to them, then they say, okay, I'm gonna give you the money and you go get what, you know what I'm saying? So like different people react to different love language. That's a big thing in not just relationships, but in sociology with different people overall. So it's as Lindsay say, like this is how we lose a lot of people, because it's just I feel like understanding is a big thing in how you divulge or you give out how you show love to different people, because understanding eliminates certain stuff like overthinking. So like say for instance, you're someone that overthinks. If something happens and you misread a situation, you'd be like, all of a sudden you start putting it all together, going way back when it's completely not that. But then when you have a certain level of understanding of that person, you understand, okay, this is why they would say something like that, and I know what they're trying to say, so I don't gotta go, you pick your battles or whatever, and you know how to deal with certain things. But the whole love languages is a huge thing, because it's a lot of times people, you feel like they do things and people don't appreciate it. But it's not necessarily that they don't appreciate it, but it's how, it's how they want to be loved. And sometimes people are not willing to have that conversation. It's like, it's not like you're trying to make people feel like, okay, you should love me this way. I should teach you how to love me or whatever. But that's a huge thing in understanding, knowing who you're dealing with. That's a big thing that I think a lot of people don't really pay attention to. But that's just
I definitely want to. Oh, go ahead, Lynn.
I'm just gonna be real quick, Dave, just in case somebody don't believe us. The Bible say, I am, and I'm only giving you a part of 1 Corinthians chapter 9, when he said, I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. To the Jew, he became a Jew. To the
Exactly.
to the law, he became under the law. So what we're saying is biblical, that sometimes we have to meet the need of people.
Where they are.
We have to become
ahead,
those
y'all.
things. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say that's so good, because I never thought about I've known about the 5 love languages for like forever, but I never thought about applying it to like just normal relationships. I always thought about it when it came to my wife or whoever I was courting or whatever. I never thought about, oh, maybe this person who I'm friends with, maybe they don't care about this long text that I'm telling them. I'm talking about how much I love them and appreciate them. Maybe they just need a hug because their love language is a physical touch. You know what I mean? Or somebody cares more about quality time than the gifts that I give them. So like, I just want to thank y'all, because I never thought about that in regular relationships. I always just thought about it romantically, but I didn't realize. And then the scripture, yes, I need the Cash App when we're done, Lynn, so I can send the offering, because you're really preaching on the day. Like, but yeah, that's really good, Ricky.
Anybody else? That was really good.
No, we're walking around the offering plate. That's all.
But yes, it's very important to just meet people where they are, and that only comes with, again, communication and figuring out, again, like I say, what they like, what they don't like. And us four girls was just having, this conversation last week, and, we have to know how to approach each individual person. Everybody's personality is different. Everybody receives things differently. So we have to know how to, or I guess, adjust how we treat, and deal with each individual person. Anybody else have a comment before we head out? Because I'm ready to eat.
Well, one more thing before you go, just to basically add to that, the whole thing. So, all right, this was a question that I asked a few people on my podcast, Friends in Ministry. Check it out when you get a chance. So
Not the plug.
Okay, plug.
So,
Okay.
so one of the questions that, hey, y'all chill. One of the questions that I asked was, like, when I speak to any of my friends that are some form of leader in ministry that probably deals with okay, one specifically. This was thank you for that. Thank you. People that were choir directors. So I asked so all right, I got an episode that's being dropped in 15 minutes. I asked this guy that, as a choir director, as somebody that's managed choirs, what are some of the challenges that you face in dealing with different personalities and stuff like that? Because on the choir you got several different personalities, and you got a choir director that has to figure out, okay, how do I get everybody to buy into what my goals are, or how do I get everybody to, and it was a really great discussion. You can check it out, but it was really like coming to people at different, because as you mentioned, Ayana, everybody have different personalities. The approach that you may take to get across something to one person may not necessarily be the same approach you will get across that will be successful to the next person, because different people receive things in different ways. It's just basically reiterating around the whole love languages thing with people being different. So, like, that has a lot to do. Like, you got to know your people. You got to know each and every person that you're dealing with and how they receive things, so that you can reach them, and that at the end of the day, whatever you're trying to achieve can be successful and God get the glory. But that's all I'm saying.
And we talked about this topic like months ago, about music ministry, when we had Nicole and Maurice and Teresa on, and we talked about this topic as as far as a choir director, even a minister of music, how do you deal with all of those personalities at once? And some people you can have tough love with, and you can they'll get on it. Other people you gotta kind of be soft with, or a little bit tender with. So again, and Jamel has, I guess, lost connection again. Thank you guys for coming on, David, Ricky, and Mr. Bad Wi-Fi Guy. And this will be on, of course, Facebook and YouTube, and then it'll be uploading to Spotify, Outcast, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else. So
I just want to say before y'all go, all the best with y'all podcast, and I'm just praying that it reaches as far as it intends to and desires to be, and just go as far as God desires it to be. I wish y'all all the success, with with y'all podcast, and just y'all go out there and take it. Like, don't be afraid to, push the bounds on certain topics and stuff like that. Y'all got it. And I just wish y'all success with y'all podcast and y'all ministry with divine discussion. So
likewise.
Thank you.
What you say,
Thank
Joe?
you.
Thank you, Minister.
Likewise, and we are helpers one to another. The word for the year is, if you build it in this season, I'm gonna bless it. So I think this is the time and opportunity for all of us to be doing something for the Lord and just seeing where it goes. You never know. So that's it. We are going to end the stream now. Evan, do you want to pray us out?